I have never played Stardew Valley before. It's a game I've always seen bits and pieces of over the years, but not one I would normally play. I'm much more into games such as Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, strategy games, or story based RPGs. Something about overcoming a difficult boss, outsmarting a cheating AI, or well crafted stories and characters has always appealed to me more than a game that, on the surface at least, is all about farming. That said, it's always been on my radar purely by word of mouth alone. Everyone I've known who's played this game has always raved about how great it actually is. The words cozy, relaxing, and comforting all come to mind. So finally, after collecting dust in my wishlist for nearly a decade, I finally took the plunge and decided to try it out. And as I opened the main menu and heard that music for the first time, an apostrophe came to me. What if I shared my experience playing this for the first time? Full disclaimer, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never done something like this before, though I've always wanted to try. I know a couple of things about the mechanics just from my casual exposure alone, but otherwise I'm going into this completely blind. I don't plan on looking things up unless I find myself stuck or confused on what to do next. Now, with that all said and done, let's see what all the fuss is about. The game starts with me creating my character. I'm pleasantly surprised by the number of options available between shirts, pants, hair, eye color, accessories, and even choosing a favorite animal. I could have spent a minimum of 3 hours creating my perfect little gremlin, but instead I make him look like a generic 2010s video game protagonist and call it a day. I name him what I name every character of mine, then spend a solid 10 minutes trying to figure out what to call the farm. As any writer can tell you, sometimes the hardest part of the creative process is just coming up with a good enough name. I eventually settle on Bee Haven Farm because we love bees in this house, choose pasta as my favorite thing, and channel my inner cat dad by picking the black cat. I go with the standard farm to start with, and then we finally begin. I'm greeted with a cutscene of my grandfather on his deathbed, giving me a sealed letter only to be opened when I feel crushed by the burden of modern life. I didn't expect the game to get so real so early. An unspecified number of years later, we are introduced to Joja Corporation at our soul-crushing office job, beginning what will no doubt be a burning hatred of this company going forward. As a side note, it wasn't until I reviewed the footage that I realized there was a skeleton left in one of the cubicles. Truly the corporate experience. Unable to take it anymore, I finally opened Grandfather's letter, which tells us of the titular Stardew Valley. Apparently, he built a farm of his own in his youth, which he's now passed down to me. Desperate to escape this corporate hellscape, I hop on a bus to Stardew Valley to begin my new life. Upon arriving, I'm greeted by a lady named Robin, the local carpenter, who takes us to Bee Haven Farm. To say it's a bit overgrown is an understatement, but our character seems to take it well. Here I also meet Lewis, the mayor of Pelican Town, and an old friend of my grandfather's. He encourages me to visit the town and introduce myself to the locals, as well as put anything in the nearby box if I want to make some money. And with that, I'm finally left to my own devices. I familiarize myself with the controls, open the gift of parsnip seeds, then step out onto my new property. This part of the game is what I've seen the most of over the years, so I'm already familiar with the process. I immediately set to work clearing the shrubbery, plant my crops, and water them to make sure they stay alive. I could have done the smart thing and just prepared enough spots for the seeds I have, but instead I prepared double the amount of space, leaving a bunch of wasted gaps. Don't worry, I'm upset with myself too, and I do eventually fix it later. After a bit more clearing, I head into town finally and run into my first NPC, Sam. I make a Samwise Gamgee joke to myself and then head to the local saloon instead. Honestly, most of the day is just spent exploring, meeting the rest of the townsfolk, and familiarizing myself with the layout. Already the music is worming its way inside my head, and it doesn't take long before I'm humming along to it. The warm and cozy feeling is settling in, and for a moment I think there's nothing that can spoil this bliss. Just when I thought I'd escaped, the soulless corporation found its way to follow along anyways. Stepping inside out of morbid curiosity, I am immediately hit with how quiet it all is. There's no music here, no warmth, only the endless drone of freezers, fans, and forgotten dreams. This is also where I have the displeasure of meeting Morris for the first time. I don't like Morris. He reminds me a little too much of an old boss. Once I was finished chastising the capitalist, I returned to my farm to rest and set to work the next day, watering my crops and clearing more clutter. I realized I had some mail from a man named Willie asking me to meet him at the beach. I find him smoking on the pier, where I'm introduced to the game's fishing. It's a simple enough mechanic. Press and hold to determine the strength of your cast, click when you see the exclamation mark, then keep the fish inside the green rectangle until you fill the bar. Now, unfortunately, I'm a little slow. Sometimes my brain just doesn't fully understand what it's doing or comprehend the instructions I've been given. Easier to learn by doing, in my experience. It took me several attempts before realizing I not only needed to click something, but also needed to click the right button. So behold, as I bumble my way to success. Okay, I think I did it wrong. Let's try this again. To release it sooner. Wait a moment. Maybe this. Okay, I'm doing it too early. Okay, let's just wait a bit longer. Or maybe I was supposed to hook it on the thing. I'll figure it out. Yeah, I keep pressing the wrong thing. I need to click it sooner or quicker. Yes. Click to raise bar, release to lower bar, keep behind the fish. Okay, I get it now. Oh, I get it. I was doing it wrong.
Why are you the way that you are?
After selling my fish, I return to Pelican Town, meet Penny for the first time, then find my way to the archaeology office. I find some helpful tips on farming, suggesting I use fertilizer, grow fruit trees, how crops die at season's end, and how some crops need to be harvested with scythes. I immediately forget all of that information going forward, which becomes a running theme for the next several hours. I speak with the curator, Gunther, who quickly tells me that the previous curator ran off with the entire collection. He asks me to deliver any artifacts and minerals I find, and immediately the loot hoarding gremlin in me lights up like the reflection in my head. Leaving the office, I return to the saloon, where I discover the arcade game, Journey of the Prairie King. I futz around with it for a little bit, get to the second stage, and eventually die. It's at this point I really start to hum along to the music, so much so it ends up becoming a frequent habit going forward. I return home, and the next day it starts raining. This waters the crops for me, which leaves me free to traipse through the downpour like the bog druid I aspire to be. I notice a marker on the notice board and find my first quest. Shane has asked someone to bring him a Joja cola because his supply is running low, and is willing to pay 75 gold for it. Despite my reservations, I purchase one from the Joja Mart, which is also for 75 gold. I'm not sure why he couldn't have just paid for it himself, but I'm not here to question things. Not realizing he was right there in the mart with me, I return home to cut down trees, smash rocks, and clear bushes. Now you might be asking, why haven't I made any storage? And the answer is, I honestly didn't know where to find it yet. Instead, I went to the blacksmith Clint, where I opened my first geode. I continued to wander in the rain aimlessly until I run into Alex. Once I was home for the evening, I finally pressed E and discovered the different panels that keep track of everything, from character stats, social interactions, the map, discoveries, and of course, crafting. I immediately craft a chest and store everything I don't need. On day 4, I finally figured out how to give people gifts by finishing Shane's request, was taken aback by the price of a local coffee, and bought 2 spaghettis by accident, which was very on brand for me. Other than that, my time was mostly spent exploring and fishing at the beach. Day 5 was more eventful than I expected. I joyfully harvested my first crop and gained the Raising Animals quest, tasking me to build a coop. I'm also told to build a scarecrow to protect my crops from being eaten by the local crows. Unfortunately, I also get some unwanted spam mail from Morris. It mentions a landslide caused by their drilling operations has been cleared, and gives a corporate legalese reason for why it's totally legal. I imagine a world where the workers unionize, and then move on. I go to find the carpenter to see about getting a coop built, and instead I run into the local homeless man, Linus. I immediately decide that he must be protected, along with everyone else in the valley. Below him is a shrine of what looks like either a raccoon, a fox, or a tanuki. This is the third of these shrines I've seen so far, the first being right next to my house, and the second down on the beach. A little to the right, I find a cave across the bridge, which immediately fills me with momentary dread. I know that monsters are in this game and that you are able to fight them, but because I didn't have a weapon, I walk right past it towards the Adventurers Guild, which I'm barred from entering. Remember these two places. We'll come back to them, because I sure as hell didn't for a while. Speaking of remembering, the carpenter. I talked to Robin about the coop, which costs 4,000 gold, 300 wood, and 100 stone. I am obviously very broke at the moment and cannot build this yet, so I put that project on the back burner for a while. This is also where I met Demetrius, a scientist studying the local flora and fauna. On day 6, I work on more clearing, find a ruined building on my farm, as well as a cave I can do nothing with. I also finally remember that there's crafting, and make a scarecrow and some fertilizer, though I did the latter before doing the clearing.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Looking back on this footage helps me realize how truly scatterbrained I am sometimes, especially when I'm learning new things. It perplexes and scares me a little. Returning to town, I'm greeted by a cutscene meeting Mayor Lewis in front of the old community center. He explains the place used to be livelier in days past, but has since fallen into deep disrepair. Apparently, Joja Corporation has been harassing him to sell the land to them and convert it into, no doubt, this world's equivalent of an Amazon warehouse. Despite the money being helpful, Lewis stubbornly refuses to sell it. Good on you, man. Don't cave into the pressure. We go inside, and the place is indeed a wreck. It's eerily quiet, with only a ghostly wind accompanying us, as if all cheer and joy has been stolen from what was once the town's beating heart. When suddenly a little green dude appears and starts waving at me like an old friend, not once, but twice. Lewis thinks I'm just seeing rats and suggests I try and catch them if I have some spare time. Once he leaves, I find a golden scroll covered in a golden tree and some sort of script I don't understand. Towards the end of the day, I complete a quest for a guy named Elliot, delivering him a Joja Cola, to which he rewards me with a prize ticket. I take it to Lewis as suggested, where he explains that these tickets are his way of encouraging goodwill among the townsfolk, which can then be turned in for rewards. While I'm tempted to say I'm only in it for the prizes, just because I thought it would be funny, I picked the nice option because I am a people pleaser at my core. In video games, of course. I get a bunch of carrot seeds as my first prize, then declare that I'm going to work towards getting the coop built. I make my farm look somewhat more presentable, then immediately get sidetracked after getting some mail from Rasmodius, the wizard. He's invited me to his tower to discuss the rat problem related to the community center. On my way there, I come across a purple wagon, which turns out to be a merchant. This person is a smuggler out of the Gotoro Empire, which I've heard mentioned at least once in the archaeology office. They sell what I assume are a bunch of illegal but rare goods, none of which I feel like purchasing right now. Makes me wonder if there's going to be more related to that down the line. At the tower, I am greeted by the most fabulous wizard in all the land. This is where we're properly introduced to the Junimos. They're harmless little forest spirits that have made the community center their home. They refuse to speak to the wizard, however, for reasons unknown at the moment. When I tell him about the golden scroll, he bamfs out of the place, yet hilariously uses the front door on his return. He translates the scroll for us. We, the Junimo, are happy to aid you. In return, we ask for gifts of the valley. If you are one with the forest, then you will see the true nature of this scroll. Rasmodius concludes that in order for me to be one with the forest, I need to drink the swamp water in his cauldron. Seemingly having no care for my own well-being, we drink the concoction, immediately turn green, and experience the mother of bad trips. This grants us the power of forest magic and the ability to decipher the Junimo scrolls. I'd like to say I went to the community center right after, but instead I realize I have some geodes and decide to go to Clint's instead. I'm glad that I did, though, as it gave me my first mineral in the form of calcite, which can be given to Gunther to put on display. Community center now? Nope. Instead, I deliver a parsnip to George, stand in front of Clint's hoping he'll come out to talk, then go to the saloon and play more Journey of the Prairie King. As a side note, I don't plan on including every single detail like this, mainly because I don't want this video to be hours long, but I did want to showcase how easy it is for me to forget something or get distracted by something else entirely. This is a common theme throughout this playthrough so far, so consider yourself warned. On day 8, I do some more planting, some more fishing, buy some new kinds of seeds, then finally remember to check the community center thanks to Lewis. The scroll shows various different bundles with certain item requirements. If I complete one of the bundles, I receive a gift from the Junimos, and completing the whole scroll grants an additional reward. This seems like a long-term investment that I can't do a whole lot with yet, so I leave it alone for now. On the way back home, I investigate one of the graves, and may have accidentally summoned a great old one. Almost immediately afterwards, I have enough items to nearly complete one of the bundles, so I circle back to the community center again, and now all I need is a leek to finish the first one. Nothing too interesting happens on day 9, other than finding a letter addressed to Pierre, the local grocer. Apparently the Joja Mart is threatening his livelihood after moving into town before anyone could protest it, but the local manager is willing to offer him a job as assistant grocer. All for the high wage of 5 gold an hour. Now I understand why Shane didn't want to pay for the cola directly. I go to confront the corporate stooge, but instead he tries to sell me a membership for the low price of 5,000 gold.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
Suppressing my growing hatred of capitalism for now, I decide to do some more fishing to calm myself down before calling it a day. Day 10 is one of rain and clearing, and lots of it. As I chop down the trees, I make a reference to an old game that is probably only funny to me. Hi, Editor GM here. So, I done goofed. I was originally going to include the footage of me making a reference to Stronghold Crusader, where the advisor goes, "Wood needed, my lord." And I don't know how, but I managed to lose all of the audio of the recording. So it's just would have been completely silent. So you get this instead. Yeah, sorry, still learning how to do this. While I have you here, you doing all right? You remember to drink water? Remember to eat today? Did you go outside? Remember to disconnect? I know things are crazy around the world right now, but it's going to be okay. At least I like to think that it will be. Anyway, back to the video. Like and subscribe. No, I'm not doing that last bit. After accepting a request to deliver some coal to Clint, I go to deliver it, only to discover that despite having the 10 required coal, the quest tracker only counts ones I've picked up since accepting the quest. This is honestly the only thing about this game that I don't like so far, and even then, it's the tiniest of tiny nitpicks. Day 11 dawns, and I'm greeted by the pretty sight of falling pink leaves that remind me of cherry blossoms. I've 2 messages in the mail, both from Robin. One suggests I build a well if I have a lot of stone, and the other is a quest to find her missing axe. When I go exploring again, I'm thrown into a cutscene of the 2 local children standing by a locked sewer entrance. Jas mentions that Gunther has an old rusty key that would probably unlock the gate. Before they can investigate further, though, a noise comes from within that scares them both off, and they both assume it's a monster. I open 2 more geodes, getting an earth crystal and a dwarvish helm, which of course goes straight to Gunther. Once that's finished, I go to Robin's, and instead of saving up for the coop like I've been saying to do, I build a well right next to my crops to make watering more convenient. Not much else happens until the evening, when a bunch of so-called mystery boxes are airdropped from the plane. Come the morning, I'm paid a visit by Clint, who gives me a blueprint to build a furnace, which can be used to smelt metal bars from ores. He also suggests I come to him to have my tools upgraded, something I've definitely been eager to do since the start. Right after, I'm also visited by Marnie, alongside a stray cat she found hanging around. She asks if I want to adopt him, and of course I say yes, because I love feline friends. I'm given the choice of coming up with a name for the little guy, so of course I pick random to see if any of them are good. Most of them are pretty meh, if I'm being honest, but then it suggests I name the cat either Trash or Bungus. I was briefly tempted to go with either just because they made me laugh. About 5 minutes later, I settle on Loki because it seems like a fitting name for a black cat, which happens to be my favorite cat in real life too. This instantly becomes the best game in the world when it allows me to pet the kitty. Any game that lets you pet the dog or the cat is automatically the best. I don't make the rules. Checking my mail, I learned that the next day happens to be Pelican Town's annual Egg Festival. Turns out, this game has different events that come with the seasons, which I definitely remember seeing on a calendar at some point, but it completely escaped my mind until now. Otherwise, it's a slow day of me buying more seeds, fixing a bridge on the beach I definitely forgot to mention earlier in this script, find some coral and sea urchins for the first time, went straight home, and finally, after constantly forgetting to do it this whole time, I put fertilizer in the dirt to help my crops grow. And with that, feeling I had done all I needed to do that day, I went to bed early, had a restful sleep, and was eager to see what the next day had in store for me and what would happen at the Egg Festival. Hello there. You've made it to the end of the video. And if you have, thank you. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart. This has been a process I didn't think I would enjoy as much as I have, and even though it took a while, like almost a month, to make just this one video, it was a lot of fun, and I hope that some people get at least some enjoyment out of this, even if it makes them cringe or makes them eye roll or something like that. I don't know, I'm just rambling. Be sure to like the video if you do like it, comment, even if all you're going to say is how awful the video is, engagement is engagement, and subscribe if you want. I would definitely be up for trying to make more videos like this, or videos in general. I had to actually stop myself from playing more Stardew just so I could get this finished, and it still took a while. But if you want to see more of my Stardew shenanigans, including what happened with the cave, then yeah, just let me know. Okay, I guess that's the end of the video. Thank you once again for getting this far. Alright, goodbye.